Moving on to grid panes, you can think of a grid as a table. A grid pane arranges nodes in a grid or a matrix formation. The nodes are placed in specified columns and rows indices, grid example, column, and row. So this is what we have here, a table just created in Microsoft Word. This would be 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 2, and 1, 2. So kind of like an array. So if I was to place a picture in 0, 1, it would go right here. I could entirely ignore this column, and then place another picture in 1, 1, and it would go right here. So creating a grid within Java using a grid pane will actually create a table sort structure that you can individually place inside of that row and that column particularly. Note, you can skip parts like I said. If you choose to skip parts, you might want to use alignment features, as we will see in the example. But grid panes are probably one of my favorite. Actually, all of these are one of my favorite, but this is probably closer to my top two as a grid pane. They are very useful, very easy to use, and very customizable. So let's take a look at the code. Everything's pretty much the same, just some minor changes. Grid pane, pane equals new grid pane. Of course, that's how we make a grid pane. We center it, meaning we put it in the middle. This is what we're looking at right now. This is how our program will look. So you can imagine 0, 0, 0, 1, or 1, 0, sorry, and so on, so forth. Just like we saw in the PowerPoint, this is that. So 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 2, 1, 2, because column and row. So going back to NetBeans, we set the insets, which remember from the last example is the padding. We then set the h gap and v gap, which is the distance between each node. And here we say pane add first name 0, 0, which is why first name gets placed right here. That is the 0, 0 of our grid. Then we say the text field should be added to the pane at 1, 0, right here. Then the middle initial label should be added at 0, 1, meaning the 0th element of the first row, and the text field. When we get down to the last name will be placed at 0, the 0th column of the second row, right here. Where it gets a little interesting is where we add the add name button. So see, I make a button add equals new button. We put the text add name on that button, and here, what I'm doing is I say button add, or pane add, we add the button at 1, 3. So this is 0, this is 1, and we put it in 3. Even though all of these only have 2, we open up a third column for add name, and then below here, we take our grid pane static property, and we set the H alignment to position right to kind of get that indentation into the right here, just to kind of make it look like you would expect it to look. So we are using the H position to indent that to the right, as well as adding a third column specifically for add name, whereas everything else only has 2. We then do the standard stuff of adding it to the scene and the stage and showing it, and that is how a grid pane works. Again, I think they are very customizable and useful, probably one of the easier ones to start out with, so if you are making a program, I would suggest this or a border pane, which is what we will see next.